James Wilson pulled his old baseball cap lower over his eyes and pushed his fake glasses up his nose. The 50-year-old CEO of Bright Future Technologies looked nothing like the man whose face appeared in business magazines. Today he wore torn jeans, a plain gray t-shirt, and dirty white shoes. A week of not shaving helped complete his new look. No one in the busy store would guess that this normal-looking man owned the very building they were shopping in. James had started doing this 6 months ago. Once a month, he would dress like a regular person and visit one of his company stores. He wanted to see how his workers really treated customers when no one told them the boss was coming. The store was busy today. People moved up and down the aisles looking at phones, computers, and other tech items that Bright Future Technologies sold. James picked up a shopping basket and walked slowly through the store. He watched how long customers waited for help. He listened to what salespeople told them about products. James stopped near a young man who was trying to decide between 2 laptop computers. A sales worker named Mike was helping him. James could see from Mike's name tag that he had only worked for the company for 3 months. "This one costs more, but it will last longer," Mike said, pointing to the more expensive laptop. "But this cheaper one might be better for what you need." James was surprised. Most sales workers tried to sell the more expensive items to make more money for the store. But Mike was actually trying to help the customer find the right product, even if it meant less profit. This was exactly the kind of service James wanted in his stores. After the young man left with the less expensive laptop, James walked up to Mike. "That was good advice you gave that customer," James said. Mike smiled. "Thanks. I just try to help people get what they really need. My boss always says happy customers come back, and that matters more than making a big sale today." James felt proud hearing his own words repeated back to him. This store manager was clearly sharing the right message with workers. "Do you like working here?" James asked. "Most days," Mike said. "The company treats us pretty well. But some things could be better." "Like what?" James asked, very interested now. Mike looked around to make sure no other workers were listening. "Well, the computer system we use is really slow. Sometimes customers get angry waiting for us to check prices or see if something is in stock. And our break room is tiny. When more than 3 people take lunch at the same time, some have to eat standing up." James made mental notes of everything Mike said. These were exactly the kind of small problems that big bosses never heard about. Problems that made work harder, but that workers were often afraid to mention to managers. "Anyway," Mike said with a smile, "are you looking for something special today?" James pointed to a phone case. "Just need one of these." As Mike walked him to the checkout, a woman with shopping bags bumped into James, knocking his hat off. James quickly put it back on, but not before the store manager walking by got a good look at his face. The manager stopped walking. Her eyes got big. She stared at James for a long moment. "Sir," she said in a surprised voice, "are you?" James gave a small shake of his head, hoping she would understand. The manager nodded slowly, a small smile forming on her face. "Can I help you find anything today, sir?" she asked in a normal voice. "This gentleman is helping me," James said, pointing to Mike, who had not noticed anything strange. But now James knew his secret was not safe. At least one person had seen through his disguise. James paid for his phone case and left the store quickly. Outside, he took a deep breath. His heart was beating fast. The store manager had seen his face. She knew who he was. Would she tell everyone? Would she tell Mike? James was not ready for his secret visits to end. He walked to his car, an old blue sedan he bought just for these visits. His real car was a black luxury car that cost more than what most of his workers made in a year. James sat in the driver's seat, but did not start the car. He was thinking. Maybe it was good that the manager saw him. She seemed smart. Maybe she could help him learn more about the problems in the store. James decided to go back inside and talk to her. When James walked back into the store, he saw the manager talking to Mike near the computer section. They both looked up when he came in. The manager said something to Mike and then walked over to James. "Sir, could I help you with something else?" she asked in a normal voice. "Actually, I was hoping to talk to you," James said. "Is there somewhere private we can speak?" The manager looked surprised but nodded. "We can use my office. Please follow me." She led James through a door marked "Staff Only" and down a short hall to a small office. The office was neat and organized. Pictures of a woman and two young children sat on the desk. "My name is Sarah Chen," the manager said after closing the door. "And you are James Wilson, the CEO of Bright Future Technologies." James took off his hat and fake glasses. "Yes, I am. How long have you known?" "I recognized you right away," Sarah said. "I studied your company in business school. I wrote a paper about your rise from a small shop to a major tech company. I have seen your picture many times." "But you did not tell anyone," James said. Sarah shook her head. "I figured you had a reason to be in disguise. I did not want to cause problems." "Thank you," James said. "I visit our stores like this to see how they really work. I want to know if we are treating customers well. I want to see what problems workers face that no one tells me about." Sarah nodded. "That is very smart. Big bosses often do not know what happens in their own stores." "Mike told me some things," James said, "about the slow computers and the small break room. Are there other problems I should know about?" Sarah looked at James for a long moment, like she was deciding if she could trust him. "Yes," she finally said. "There are other problems. The biggest one is that we do not have enough workers. Everyone is tired from doing the jobs of two people, and our best workers keep leaving because other stores pay more money." "But I approved raises for all store workers last year," James said, confused. "The raises never happened," Sarah said. "At least not here. Regional Manager Dave Thompson told us the company could not afford raises right now." James felt his face get hot with anger. He had signed the papers for those raises himself. Dave Thompson was lying to the workers and probably keeping the money for himself. "Tell me more," James said. "I need to know everything." For the next 30 minutes, Sarah told James about many problems in the store. Problems with the way workers were treated. Problems with the way Dave Thompson ran things. "This is all very helpful," James said when Sarah finished talking. "You are a good manager, Sarah. Your workers respect you." "I try to take care of them," Sarah said, "but it gets harder every day." "Things will change," James promised. "But I need to ask you a favor. Please do not tell anyone who I am." "Not yet. I need to visit more stores first." "I understand," Sarah said. "Your secret is safe with me." What James did not know was that someone else was listening at the door. Someone who had followed them down the hall. Someone who had heard everything they said. James left the store feeling both angry and sad. He was angry at Dave Thompson for stealing money meant for the workers. He was sad that his company had problems he knew nothing about. In his car, James made a list of things he needed to check. The slow computers, the small break room, the missing raises. He needed proof before he could act against Dave Thompson. The person who had listened at the door was Mike. He had followed Sarah and James because he was curious. Now he knew that the man in the dirty clothes was really James Wilson, the CEO of the company, and he knew that Dave Thompson was stealing money. Mike did not know what to do with this information. The next morning, James went to his real office in a tall building downtown. He wore his normal clothes now, a nice dark blue suit and shiny black shoes. His assistant Lisa brought him coffee as she did every morning. "Lisa, can you get me all the papers about the raises we approved last year?" James asked. "And I need to see which stores actually gave those raises to workers." Lisa looked surprised. "That will take some time, sir. Those papers are in the old files." "Take all the time you need," James said. "This is very important." While Lisa looked for the papers, James called his friend Tom, who worked at the company that made the computer systems for the stores. "Tom, I need to know something," James said. Are the computers we use in our stores really slow? Some of them are very old, Tom said. You should have replaced them 2 years ago. I signed papers to buy new computers last year, James said, his voice getting louder. What happened to those computers? Let me check, Tom said. There was a long silence. According to our records, the order was canceled. Someone named Dave Thompson canceled it. James felt that hot anger again. Dave Thompson was causing more problems than he thought. James thanked Tom and ended the call. He needed more information before he confronted Dave. That afternoon, Lisa brought a big stack of papers to James. I found everything about the raises, she said, and something else strange. Money has been leaving the company every month. It goes to a company called DT Consulting. I could not find any work this company does for us. DT Consulting. Dave Thompson. It was so clear now. Dave was taking company money and putting it in his own fake company. No wonder there was no money for raises or new computers. James thanked Lisa and asked her to set up a meeting with Dave Thompson for the next day. Then he called Sarah. Sarah, this is James Wilson, he said when she answered her phone. I found some interesting information today. The raises and new computers were approved and paid for, but Dave Thompson canceled everything. And he might be stealing money through a fake company. That explains a lot, Sarah said. He always tells us there is no money for anything we need. I am meeting with him tomorrow, James said, but I need your help first. Can you send me pictures of the break room? And can you ask Mike to write down what he told me about helping customers? I can do that, Sarah said. But why do you need it? I need proof that I was in the store, James explained. Dave might say I never visited and do not know what I am talking about. What James did not know was that Dave Thompson had already heard about a strange man asking questions in the store. And Dave had security camera video of James talking to Sarah. Dave did not recognize James in his disguise, but he knew something was wrong. Dave picked up his phone and made a call. We might have a problem, he said to the person on the other end. Someone is asking questions about the money. The next morning, Dave Thompson walked into the main office building. He wore an expensive suit and carried a leather bag. Dave was a tall man with gray hair and a big smile that never reached his eyes. He went straight to the top floor where James Wilson had his office. Dave, thank you for coming, James said, standing up to shake hands. Please sit down. Dave sat across from James, looking calm and sure of himself. What can I help you with today, sir? Your message said it was urgent. James opened a folder on his desk. I want to talk about the worker raises that were approved last year, and the new computers, and the money going to DT Consulting every month. The smile dropped from Dave's face for just a second before he put it back on. There must be some mistake. We had to cancel those raises and computers because sales were down. And DT Consulting is a company that helps us find good workers. James pushed some papers across the desk. These reports show sales went up last year, not down. And I called 3 other companies like ours. They never heard of DT Consulting. Dave's face turned a little red. I can explain all of this. I hope so, James said. Because right now it looks like you canceled things workers needed and took the money for yourself. Dave stood up fast, knocking his chair over. You cannot prove anything. Actually, I can, James said. He pressed a button on his phone. Lisa, please ask our guests to come in now. The door opened, and 3 people walked in. One was Sarah Chen. One was Mike from the store. And one was a serious-looking woman in a police uniform. You remember Sarah and Mike from the store, James said. And this is Officer Taylor. She is very interested in where the company money has been going. Dave looked at the 3 people who just came in. Then he looked back at James. I do not understand. How do you know these store workers? James smiled. I visited your store 2 days ago. I was in disguise. I wanted to see how the store really worked. That was you. Dave asked, his voice rising. The man in the dirty clothes talking to everyone. Yes, James said. And I learned a lot. The workers never got their raises. The computers are old and slow. The break room is too small. All because you took the money. Mike stepped forward. I heard you and Sarah talking in her office. I heard everything about how the regional manager was stealing money. I took pictures of the break room for Sarah to send to you. I also made a list of all the things we need in the store. Dave's face was very red now. You cannot believe these workers over me. I am a regional manager. Sarah opened her phone and showed James some pictures. Here is our break room. And here are the old computers. They crash at least 3 times every day. Officer Taylor took out a small notebook. Mr. Thompson, we have been watching money going into DT Consulting for months. Now we need to ask you some more questions. At the police station, Dave looked around the room. He saw that he was trapped. This is not fair. Everyone does things like this. I just took a little money. The little money, James said. You took over $1 million. Money that should have made life better for the workers. Officer Taylor put her hand on Dave's arm. Mr. Thompson, please come with me. As Dave was led out of the room, he looked back at James with angry eyes. This is not over. I have friends. Important friends. One of them called me yesterday to warn me about you asking questions. After Dave left with the police officer, James turned to Sarah and Mike. Thank you both for your help, he said. But now I am worried. Dave said someone warned him. Someone in this company is working with him. Who could it be? Sarah asked. Just then, Lisa came into the office. Sir, the head of accounting is here to see you. She says it is urgent. James looked at Sarah and Mike. Maybe we are about to find out. The head of accounting walked into the office. Her name was Helen Parker. She was an older woman with short gray hair who had worked at the company for 20 years. She looked worried. Mr. Wilson, I need to talk to you right away, Helen said. Then she saw Sarah and Mike. Oh, I did not know you had visitors. These are Sarah Chen and Mike Lopes from our Main Street store, James said. They helped me uncover what Dave Thompson was doing. You can speak freely in front of them. Helen put a large folder on the desk. I found something very bad. Dave Thompson was not working alone. Someone else in the company helped him steal the money. James was not surprised. Dave had said he had friends in the company. Do you know who it was? Helen nodded. Yes, it was Robert Green. James felt like someone had hit him in the stomach. Robert Green was one of his oldest friends. They had started the company together. Robert was now the chief financial officer, the second most powerful person in the company. That cannot be right, James said, shaking his head. Robert would not do that. Helen opened the folder and spread out many papers. The proof is all here. Robert signed off on all the money going to DT Consulting. He also helped hide where the money was going so he would not see it. Mike looked at the papers. Is that why our raises never came through? Because this Robert person helped steal the money. James nodded, still shocked by what he was hearing. I think so. Robert Green is the CFO. He handles all the money for the company. Sarah looked angry. So 2 rich executives stole money that was supposed to help regular workers. It seems that way, James said. Helen, have you told anyone else about this? No, Helen said. I came straight to you. But there is more. I think Robert knows I found out. He was asking me strange questions yesterday about what files I was looking at. Just then, the door opened again and a man walked in without knocking. It was Robert Green. He was dressed in a very expensive suit. His face was red with anger. James, what is going on? Robert demanded. The police just took Dave Thompson away. And why are store workers in your office? James stood up. Robert, we need to talk. Helen just showed me some very interesting papers about money going to DT Consulting. Papers that you signed. Robert looked at Helen with angry eyes. You should not have done that, Helen. It was the right thing to do. Helen said, standing tall. Robert turned back to James. This is all a big mistake. I can explain everything. I hope so, James said, because right now it looks like you and Dave stole over $1 million from the company. Money that was supposed to go to worker raises and new computers. Robert laughed, but it was not a happy laugh. So what? The workers do not need that money like we do. They are just workers. They should be happy they have jobs. Mike stepped forward. Those workers are people with families. People who work hard every day to make your company successful. Robert looked at Mike with cold eyes. And who are you? Just some nobody from a store. You have no right to talk to me that way. Sarah moved next to Mike. He has every right. And so do I. We are the people who make this company work every day. Robert turned to James. Are you going to let these workers talk to me this way? Have you forgotten who we are? We are the ones who matter in this company. James had never seen this side of Robert before. After 20 years of friendship, he was seeing the real Robert for the first time, and he did not like what he saw. Helen, James said, please call Officer Taylor and ask her to come back. I think she will want to talk to Robert too. Robert Greene looked at James with cold eyes. You would not dare call the police on me. I know too much about you and this company. What does that mean? James asked. It means we have been friends for 20 years, Robert said. I know all your secrets. Do you want everyone to know about the deal with Global Tech last year? Or the real reason we closed the factory in Chicago? James felt his heart beat faster. Robert was threatening him. But James knew he had to do the right thing. Those were business decisions, James said, not crimes. What you and Dave did was steal money. That is a crime. Robert laughed again. You are so naive, James. This is how business works. Everyone takes a little extra for themselves. Everyone. Mike and Sarah watched this conversation with wide eyes. They had never seen top executives talk this way before. Not everyone, James said, and not in my company. Helen had stepped out to call Officer Taylor. Now she came back in. The officer is on her way back, she said. Robert's face changed. Now he looked worried. James, think about this. If I go down, I will take you with me. I will tell everyone about every bad thing you ever did. Tell them whatever you want, James said. I have nothing to hide. Robert looked around the room like a trapped animal. Then he made a sudden move toward the door. But Mike was faster. The young store worker stepped in front of the door, blocking Robert's escape. Get out of my way, Robert said in an angry voice. No, Mike said simply. Robert tried to push past Mike, but the younger man was stronger. He held his ground, not letting Robert leave. You will regret this, Robert said to Mike. I will make sure you never work in this city again. Sarah stepped up next to Mike. No, you will not, because you will be in jail. The door opened behind them, and Officer Taylor walked in. Robert Greene, she asked. I need to ask you some questions about money going to DT Consulting. I have nothing to say, Robert said. You have the right to remain silent, Officer Taylor said, taking out handcuffs. Anything you say can be used against you in court. As Officer Taylor led Robert away, he looked back at James with hate in his eyes. This is not over, he said. After Robert and the officer left, the room was quiet for a moment. Then James turned to Helen. Thank you for your courage, he said. I know it was not easy to report your boss. It was the right thing to do, Helen said. I have worked here for 20 years. I love this company. I could not watch them steal from it anymore. James then turned to Mike and Sarah. And thank you both. You helped save this company. We just want the company to be fair, Sarah said, to give workers what they need to do their jobs well. And to treat customers right, Mike added. James nodded. I promise things will change. Starting today. The next week was very busy for James. He worked with the police to understand exactly how much money Robert and Dave had stolen. He also worked with Helen to fix all the problems the theft had caused. Most importantly, James visited every store in the company, not in disguise this time, but as himself. He talked to the workers and listened to their problems. He saw the slow computers and small break rooms with his own eyes, and he made a big decision. James would change how the company worked. From now on, store managers like Sarah would report directly to him. There would be no more regional managers like Dave Thompson who could hide problems from him. I never want to be out of touch with my own company again, James told his assistant Lisa. From now on, I will see everything with my own eyes. 1 month after the arrests of Robert and Dave, things were changing at Bright Future Technologies. James had kept his promise. All the stores got new computers that worked fast. The break rooms were made bigger and nicer. And all workers finally got their raises. But James did not stop there. He wanted to make bigger changes. He called a meeting with all store managers, including Sarah. They met in the big conference room at the main office. "I want to thank you all for coming," James said to the 20 managers sitting around the table. "I asked you here because I need your help." The managers looked surprised. The CEO was asking them for help. "For too long, I was out of touch with what happens in our stores," James continued. "I want to change that. From now on, you will all report directly to me. And I want you to tell me everything, good or bad." Sarah raised her hand. "Even if the news is bad, even if we are having problems." "Especially then," James said. "I cannot fix problems I do not know about." Another manager spoke up. "What about our workers? Can they talk to you too?" James nodded. "Yes, I am starting something new called Open Door Days. Once a month, any worker can come talk to me directly about any problem or idea they have." The managers looked at each other. This was very different from how things used to work. "There is one more change," James said. "I want to create a worker council. This group will include people from all parts of the company. Store workers, office workers, managers. They will meet with me every month to discuss how to make the company better." "Who will be on this council?" a manager asked. "I want you all to nominate your best people," James said. "People who are not afraid to speak up when things are wrong." Sarah smiled. "I nominate Mike Lopes from my store." James nodded. Mike would be perfect for the council. After the meeting, Sarah stayed behind to talk to James. "These changes are amazing," she said. "But why are you doing all this?" James thought for a moment. "When I was in disguise in your store, I saw how hard everyone works. I saw how much you all care about the customers. But I also saw how the company was failing you, not giving you what you needed to do your jobs well. And that made you want to change things?" Sarah asked. "Yes," James said. "But there was something else too. When Robert said those terrible things about the workers, about how they did not matter, I realized the company had lost its way. We forgot that the workers are the heart of the company." "Well, everyone is very happy with the changes so far," Sarah said. "The new computers make everything faster. And the raises made a big difference for many families." James smiled. "That is good to hear, but we are just getting started." The next day, James visited the Main Street store again. This time, he wore his normal business clothes. All the workers knew he was coming, and they were nervous. James walked through the store, talking to every worker. He asked about their jobs, their families, their ideas for making things better. Most were shy at first, but soon they were talking freely. When James found Mike, the young man was helping an older customer choose a phone. "This one is easier to use," Mike was saying. "The buttons are bigger and the screen is clearer." The customer looked confused. "But is it a good phone? Will it work well?" "It is a very good phone," Mike assured him. "My grandfather has the same one, and he loves it." James watched as Mike patiently showed the customer how to use the phone. He did not rush or try to sell a more expensive model. He simply helped the customer find the right phone for his needs. After the customer left with his new phone, James walked up to Mike. "That was excellent customer service," James said. Mike smiled. "Oh, thank you, Mr. Wilson. I was just doing my job." "No," James said. "You were doing more than that. You were treating that customer like a person, not just a sale. That is exactly what this company needs more of." 3 months later, the first meeting of the Worker Council took place. 15 people from all parts of the company sat around a large table. Mike was there, representing the Main Street store. Helen Parker was there too, now promoted to Chief Financial Officer after Robert was fired. James started the meeting by thanking everyone for coming. "This council is very important," he said. "You are the voice of all workers in the company. I want to hear what you have to say, even when it is hard to hear." One by one, the council members shared problems and ideas. A warehouse worker talked about safety concerns. An office worker suggested better health insurance. Mike brought up the need for more training for new workers. James listened carefully to everyone. He took notes and asked questions. He did not get defensive when people pointed out problems. "These are all excellent points," James said when everyone had spoken. "Now let us talk about how to fix these issues." For the next 2 hours, the group discussed solutions. By the end of the meeting, they had made plans to address every concern that was raised. As the meeting ended, Mike spoke up. "Mr. Wilson, can I ask you something?" "Of course," James said. "Why did you really start going to stores in disguise? What made you think of doing that?" Everyone in the room looked interested in the answer. James thought for a moment before speaking. "6 months ago, I got a letter from a customer," James began. "They wrote about having a terrible experience in one of our stores. The computers were slow, the workers seemed unhappy, and no one seemed to care about helping customers." James paused, remembering how he felt when he read that letter. "At first, I did not believe it," he continued. "I thought our company was better than that. So I called the regional manager, Dave Thompson, and asked him about it. He told me everything was fine, that it was just one angry customer." The room was very quiet now. Everyone was listening closely. "But something about his answer did not feel right," James said. "So I decided to see for myself. I put on old clothes and visited that store, and everything in the letter was true. The computers were slow. The workers looked tired and unhappy, and the service was not good." "So that is when you started visiting all the stores?" Mike asked. James nodded. "Yes, I visited 15 stores in 3 months. Some were better than others, but most had similar problems. And when I tried to find out why, I discovered what Robert and Dave were doing." Helen spoke up. "If you had not gone in disguise, we might never have caught them." "True," James said, "but the bigger lesson for me was that I had lost touch with my own company. I was sitting in my big office, believing everything was fine, while the real company was struggling." An older woman from the customer service department raised her hand. "So what happens now? Will you keep going to stores in disguise?" James smiled. "Sometimes, yes. It is still a good way to see how things really work. But now I have another way to learn the truth. I have all of you." After the meeting, Mike walked with James to the elevator. "There is something I have been wondering," Mike said. "That day in the store, why did you talk to me? I was just a new worker. There were more experienced people you could have talked to." "I saw how you helped that customer," James said. "You did not try to sell him the most expensive laptop. You helped him find the right one for his needs. That told me a lot about you." Mike looked surprised. "I was just doing what seemed right." "Exactly," James said. "And that is what makes you valuable to this company. You care about doing the right thing." As James rode the elevator down to the lobby, he thought about how much had changed in just a few months. The company was stronger now. Workers were happier. Customers were getting better service. And it all started because one customer saw through his disguise. Not Sarah, who recognized him later, but that first customer who wrote the letter about poor service. That unknown person had changed everything. James made a note to himself to find that customer and thank them. Their letter had started a chain of events that saved his company. 6 months after the first worker council meeting, Bright Future Technologies was a different company. Sales were up. Worker happiness was up. Customer satisfaction was up. The changes James had made were working. But James still had one thing he wanted to do. He had been trying to find the customer who wrote that first letter, the one that started everything. Finally, his assistant Lisa found the letter in the old files. The letter was from someone named Maria Gonzalez. Lisa told him. She visited the Main Street store 8 months ago. James read the letter again. Maria had written about slow computers and unhappy workers. But she had also written something else that caught his attention now. As a business owner myself, I know how hard it is to keep track of everything, Maria had written. Sometimes the people at the top do not know what is really happening in their company. That is why I am writing directly to you, Mr. Wilson. James decided to meet Maria in person to thank her. Lisa found her address and phone number. Maria owned a small bakery on the other side of town. The next day, James drove to the bakery. It was a small, clean place with delicious smells coming from inside. A woman was behind the counter, helping a customer. James waited until the customer left, then walked up to the counter. "Hi, are you Maria Gonzalez?" he asked. The woman looked up. She was about 50 years old with kind eyes and a warm smile. "Yes, I am Maria," she said. "How can I help you?" "My name is James Wilson," he said. "I am the CEO of Bright Future Technologies." Maria's eyes got wide. "The CEO? In my bakery? Why?" "I wanted to thank you in person," James said. "You wrote a letter to me 6 months ago about problems in our Main Street store." Maria nodded. "Yes, I remember. The computers were very slow, and the workers seemed unhappy. Did you get my letter?" "I did," James said. "And it changed everything. Because of your letter, I started visiting our stores in disguise. I discovered serious problems and fixed them. I wanted to thank you for taking the time to write to me." Maria smiled. "I am glad to hear that. I almost did not send the letter. I thought no one would read it. Not only did I read it, but it saved my company," James said. "If you had not written to me, Robert and Dave might have stolen even more money." Maria looked confused. "Robert and Dave? Who are they?" James realized Maria did not know the whole story. He told her about his visits to the stores in disguise. He told her about discovering that Robert and Dave were stealing money. And he told her about all the changes he had made to the company. "That is amazing," Maria said when he finished. "All because of one letter." "Yes," James said. "One person can make a big difference." Maria nodded. "I know that is true. That is why I always try to treat each customer specially in my bakery. One person matters." "That is a lesson I had forgotten," James admitted. "I was so busy running a big company that I forgot about individual people, the workers, the customers. Each one matters." "It is easy to forget when you are in charge of so many people," Maria said kindly. "The important thing is that you remembered." James thanked Maria again and bought a box of cookies before leaving. As he drove back to his office, he thought about everything that had happened in the last 6 months. He had gone from being a CEO who did not know what was happening in his own company to someone who talked directly with workers every day. He had uncovered crimes, fixed problems, and made the company stronger. And it all started because he put on a disguise and saw his company through different eyes. Sometimes you had to change how you looked at things to see the truth. Back at his office, James found Mike waiting for him. The young man now worked at the main office, helping to train new store workers. He had been promoted twice in 6 months. "How did the meeting with Maria go?" Mike asked. "Very well," James said. "She is an impressive person. She runs her bakery the way we should run our whole company, caring about each customer." Mike nodded. "That is what you taught me, to care about each person who walks in the door." James smiled. "I think you already knew that. I just helped you see how important it is." Later that day, James called Sarah Chen. She was now the regional manager for 10 stores, replacing Dave Thompson. I met the customer who started everything. James told her, the one who wrote the letter that made me visit your store in disguise. The one who saw through your disguise before I did. Sarah said with a laugh. Exactly, James said. She saw what was wrong with our company without even working there. Sometimes it takes an outsider to see the truth, Sarah said. James agreed. That is why I still go to stores in disguise sometimes. To see things with fresh eyes. And that is exactly what James Wilson did for many years after. Even as the company grew bigger and more successful, he never forgot the lesson he learned that day in the Main Street store. The best way to know what was really happening was to see it with your own eyes.